Let's take a look. I want to show you, before I show you anything else, I want to show you this clip of a young lady named Elizabeth, I believe it must be pronounced Rogliani. She's a young lady from Venezuela, and she put this up on TikTok. Remember, of course, Venezuela has been plunged into absolute oppression and poverty by converting over to socialism. People are roasting cats in Venezuela to eat because, I mean, the place is, it's basically a failed state, which should be, I mean, the food grows on the trees there. It should be one of the wealthiest states in the world. They've spent their oil. They've spent all their money. They've just been utterly destroyed. And she says, she goes on TikTok and she says, why should I care about all this stupid pulling down statues? And then here's what she says, is cut one.
I have already lived through this thing when I was living in Venezuela. Statues came down. Chavez didn't want that history displayed. And then he changed the street names. Then came the curriculum. Then some movies couldn't be shown on certain TV channels, and so on and so forth. You guys think it can't happen to you? I've heard this so many times. But always be on guard. Never believe something can't happen to you. You need to guard your country and your society, or it will be destroyed.
Because they tear down the statues, right? And they say, oh, this one did that, and this one did that, and this one was evil this way, and this one. And sometimes, I mean, I mean, Donald Trump said this about the people tearing down the statue. And I think this is absolutely true. This is Trump on the cut 3.
I think many of the people that are knocking down these statues don't even have any idea what the statue is, what it means, who it is. When they knock down Grant, when they want to knock down Grant. But when they look at certain, now they're looking at Jesus Christ. They're looking at George Washington. They're looking at Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Not as long as I'm here.
So the thing is that they can always find, with the exception of Jesus Christ, who obviously was sinless, they can always find the sins of all these people. They can always find the problems with all these statues. But as Trump says, most of these people are so ignorant they don't know what they're doing. But they can always find sins. This one, well, should we take down this one? This one, but they never are asked, what are you going to do? What are you going to make? Here is a guy named Hawk Newsome who runs the Greater New York Black Lives Matter. He was on Martha McCallum's show on Fox. Here's what he had to say about his program. This is cut 10.
If this country doesn't give us what we want, then we will burn down this system and replace it. All right. And I could be speaking figuratively. Okay. I could be speaking literally. It's a matter of interpretation. Like, let's be very real. And let's observe the history of the 1960s. When black people were rioting, we had the highest growth in wealth, in property ownership. Think about the last few weeks.
That's amazing. But you know what Martha doesn't say is replace it with what? First of all, his facts are totally wrong. The rioting in the 60s is one of the reasons Richard Nixon was elected. Everywhere that was associated close to rioting lost 2% of the Democrat votes. Every single one of them. And that's why one of the main contributory factors to Richard Nixon, who ran a law and order campaign, and that's why he won. The wealth of blacks was increasing until the Great Society slowed down their rise because it destroyed their families and it made them dependent on government largesse. I mean, this is the thing. Nobody says to them, why don't you help yourself? Why are you always asking people to help you? Why are you always so helpless? Why do you let people portray you as helpless? This always gets me, especially because I'm a sexist, because I think men and women are different. To hear a guy saying, I'm helpless, you have to help me, you have to do things, it's injustice, you have to pay me reparations for something that never happened to me. I just think that it is so emasculating. I mean, how can they let Democrats do this to them? I don't care what color they are. Just as men, how can they let Democrats turn them into these helpless victims instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to take agency for myself. I'm going to get myself educated. I'm going to get a good job. I'm going to work 12 hours. You know, because they talk about white privilege. A lot of it's not privilege. It's advantage. You have the advantage of working hard, of getting an education, of being taught responsibility. And I know in poor neighborhoods, you don't get a lot of that because there are no fathers around. I understand that. I understand that it's tough. But now, here you are. You're a guy. Take control. You know, take control, not by yelling at people to help you, not by yelling at people to give you things, not by tearing things down, but by building up your own life. But no one will say that to them because everybody's so afraid, you know, everybody's so afraid to say anything, except here where we're probably going to get, canceled.